Hi, thank you for joining us today. I'm so excited for us to be with you today, and thanks in advance for watching. Today, I am so fortunate. I have Kiersten Troutman with Second Glance Resumes with me. We're going to talk about the challenges in the job market. We're going to talk and give you some executable items that you'll be able to take with you to help you land your next ideal move. But before we get started, introductions are in order. I have known this superstar for 10 plus years. I think so highly of her, her writers, and her firm that she is a partner with Healthcare Executive Search. She has 20 years of writing experience. She's also been in your shoes out in the work world as well. She has a master's in rhetoric and communication. She's been helping people for 11 years, helping thousands of individuals with her resumes get those very needed conversations to land that next ideal job. She's been a guest speaker for the National Writers Association. She has a lot of knowledge and expertise to share with us today. And I'm Pamela, founding member of Healthcare Executive Search, where we really make great introductions. Our specializations are leadership as well as everything sales. We help folks make great matches in their job search and also with our client company. So we're just going to dig in. What we're going to talk about today are resumes, cover letters, LinkedIn, and AI. How does that sound?
That sounds great. And those are all topics of interest, I'm sure, to a lot of candidates out there.
Absolutely. And not only our candidates, but even anybody within the industry. There's nuggets of information that they're going to be able to take from this really short video. Learn a little bit about us, and it's all about that know, like, and trust out in the world of who you might potentially do business with, but also take those nuggets of wisdom that both of us have for many industry and many years doing what we do in our expertise. So why don't we kind of start having a conversation about resumes? So I don't know about you, but sometimes I get a lot of resumes, even from very experienced individuals. My biggest pet peeve is they don't have any metrics attached to them. Any metrics, no matter what they do, whether they're sales numbers, whether they're in operations, how much money they saved or what they did, how they did that. So for me, I find when I talk to candidates who are frustrated in even getting those initial conversations, their resume doesn't really highlight to them what their accomplishments are and gives a hiring manager and or a recruiter a reason why they want to pick up the phone. So what are you finding?
I'm finding that the same thing, actually. When I'm meeting with clients, we have the same issues that we have to kind of work through. So I can tell you a little bit about, what you do need to do to bring your resume up. The first thing that we want to really focus on is tailoring the resume to that specific role. So you can actually easily find your job descriptions. You can find in that job description little nuggets, keyword nuggets to tailor that position. So you can easily tailor it by referring to that job description. And that's something that you should be doing for each position that you apply for, because keywords can be different depending on which position you're applying for. Something else of interest on those keywords, because a lot of people will say, well, what keywords am I looking for? A lot of them, and the studies that we've found, are the fact that they're nouns. So instead of like leading, it would be leadership, business development, operations management. So they're nouns. So you're looking for those keyword nouns. Those are the golden keyword nuggets, as we like to say. To get you through, before we even get you to people like Pamela Baird in front of a human eye, you have to pass through the applicant tracking systems, and we need to optimize your resume for that ATS, the applicant tracking system. That's a very important step. Keywords matter, and like I said, most of them are nouns. Storytelling is another thing that you want to keep in mind. Yes, you have a very brief window of opportunity to tell your story, Your resume should be no longer than 2 pages long unless you are, say, in academia, like higher education, or you're a researcher. Then you would be having a CV, a curriculum vitae, which is going to allow you to go beyond that 2 page mark. But for everyone else, typically it's a 2 page resume. You don't want to go on and on and on. And that storytelling, though, what I mean by that, think of every bullet point as a CAR story, and that's an acronym for challenge, action, result. You want to state a time when you faced a challenge, the action you took, and then what the result was from that. But if you want to go a little step further, you can kind of mismatch those letters up a little bit and front load your achievements followed by the how. So you could say that you improved, I'll try to come up with an example here, improved efficiency 50% by streamlining XYZ process. So you're stating what you achieved followed by the how. And that is exactly what they want to see. Would you agree with that, Pamela?
I absolutely do agree with that. And I love acronyms because it makes us remember those things and also makes us
Challenge, action.
on that. So those are some really amazing nuggets. I think that kind of rolls us into really well the customization piece into cover letters.
Mhm.
And I've always felt that, you know, to write a great cover letter for a job or even to a recruiter of a position that you really, really are interested in, it's almost worth the time to do it because it really paints a bigger picture of why specifically you think you're a fit. I mean, it's another opportunity really to sell yourself, and it demonstrates by doing it your level of interest and shows your communication skills. What do you think on that?
Yeah, well, and I like how you said the cover letter kind of picks up where the resume leaves off. And keep in mind that those resumes, it might be shocking to some. It usually shocks everybody when I tell them. I said they give you on average 6 to 7 seconds to impress them. So that's why keywords matter. That's why quantified achievements matter, because that's the first thing they're going to see. The human eye kind of tends to gravitate towards numbers before it reads words. And when you have seconds to impress, those numbers are where it's at. So quantifying your resume, big deal. When you get to the cover letter, again, you only add 6 to 7 seconds with the resume. So I always tell clients, I said that cover letter gives you an extra 5 seconds. And when seconds matter, that cover letter counts. Um, the cover letter camp seems to be divided. Some recruiters say that cover letters are dead. Some of them are like, no, I actually absolutely do read those cover letters. So I usually tell clients, I said, you know, if you have the opportunity to provide one, why wouldn't you? Because again, you're giving them 6 more seconds, 5 or 6 more seconds with your name in front of them. With cover letters, tips for the cover letter, you want to personalize it as best you can. You can address the hiring manager by name if you can find their name. And I would say 80% of the time, I'm very resourceful. I can try to find a name. You can try to go to LinkedIn and type in human resources and the company's name and see if that the name will populate. If it does not, that might just be because you have a very large company that you're applying for. In that case, you're going to have to say hiring manager. But when you can get a name, you want to address it by name. You want to showcase how you are the best fit. So you want to demonstrate how you align with the company's values, mission, culture. To do that, you want to go to the company's website, learn a thing or two about them before you even start writing your letter. The other reason that you want to make sure you're doing that is because if you don't know anything about them in a very basic sense, you're the writer, right? And you have no idea who your audience is, right? You have to know who your audience is when you're writing. So you want to go to that company's website and learn a thing or two about them before you even start writing. You want to keep it brief and impactful. Cover letters should be very concise, only 1 page long. I think maybe in the 11 years I've been writing resumes, I've had a couple out of 11 years that have maybe spilled into like that page and a half, but normally they should be very concise at 1 page. You want them to complement your resume. They shouldn't be, you know, restating everything that you already have on your resume. You might want to begin your cover letter with telling them what you know about them and why you actually chose to apply with them. And then the second half of the letter can talk about what their needs are and how you've maybe met those needs similarly in the past, kind of as a sneak peek to the resume that they're going to see. So those are some of the things that I would say. You want to personalize it. You want to showcase how you're the best fit. You want to, showing them that you align with their values, their mission. Again, you can find that mission statement on their website, and then maybe try to complement the resume. So tell them, maybe highlight something that's unique that your resume doesn't really capture.
Great advice. Oh my goodness. And here's something that I get too. Really, in order to do a good job, to get a resume and your documents together, when I say document, I'm usually referring to a resume cover letter. Some people have more than one version of both. A lot of them folks will have a template that they can customize, one or two templates, just depending on what their background is, what their target job market is, and having strategy in that. But why don't we talk about what is the time commitment? Time commitment to do a resume and a cover letter correctly. What does that look like from your vantage point? And you're an expert writer and your team. And what does it take to do? And again, I'm sure it depends on length and what needs to be done, but how long does it take to write an average cover letter and an average resume?
That is a great question. And I love that question because I don't think a lot of people realize how much time we put into them. Um, like I said, 11 years now. So we have a pretty good idea of how long it takes. And on average, for a first draft only, it takes 3 hours to write a resume. So that's even with, clients sending us their old resume. It's not like we're just kind of like massaging it a little bit. We're redesigning and redeveloping the entire the content of the resume. So it's about 3 hours just to do your first draft, sometimes 3.5 hours, depending on the experience level of that client. Cover letters typically take about 45 minutes because I'll be honest, I'm just like any other writer out there. We're staring at the cursor flashing there, like, okay, where do we want to start with this? But then again, to help you move along that past that point of, where do I start? I go to that company's website and I learn a little bit about them, because if you don't know who you're writing to, you don't know your audience, it's hard to start it. So once we do that, it starts to get moving a little bit more. One other thing that I forgot to mention that I wanted to make sure I did tell you, uh, you want to make sure that that font size is not like a 9 or a 10 because it's too small. And I always joke, I said, they're not going to get out their magnifying glasses to read your resume. You've got seconds to impress. You have to make it count. I usually say that 9 is definitely too small. 10 is pushing it. 12 is too big, and 11 is Goldilocks. All right. So 11 is Goldilocks. That's usually kind of where we leave it. You do not have to use Times New Roman or Arial. Those days are gone. You can be a little bit more creative now in your font as long as it's professional. To keep it ATS compatible, I don't think I mentioned this either, and I wanted to kind of mention that. You want to make sure that there are no headers, no footers, no tables or columns. And you reminded me of that because you said something about finding templates. Be very, very careful about using templates online, because most of the Googled templates out there for resumes have them in columns, or they have tables in them, and they will not pass through an ATS. So, those are some of the things that we have to be mindful of. And then getting back to what you were asking, I needed to interject that just to make sure I had that. I think you were asking about LinkedIn. Is that what it was? Or
Yeah,
just
right, I
the
mean,
timing?
I think
Okay.
there's an importance of getting your LinkedIn profile correctly, because I know I can share from a recruiter perspective. We look at it, right? We look for talent, we look for accomplishments. Sometimes we're looking for people. Sometimes we're just validating information. And getting a sense of even recommendations. What are people saying about this person? And even looking and reading down through some of those. So I don't know if you have anything you'd like to add for LinkedIn.
For LinkedIn, yes. Okay. So while we were at rainy Seattle back in 2018 for the National Resume Writers Association conference, we learned about a study, and this has stuck with me ever since then. We learned about a study that showed that recruiters are spending 4 to 7 hours a day on LinkedIn searching for qualified talent. That shocked me because I thought it would be maybe some other job boards out there, but it's LinkedIn. So that in itself is a reason enough for me to tell clients that you have to have all of your eggs in different baskets, including LinkedIn. I even verified that with another executive search firm as well. I said, "Hey, where do you have your executive recruiters?" He said, "Well, from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. they're on LinkedIn." So that sealed the deal for me. So even if you don't have a professional writer update your resume and or your LinkedIn, you still want to make sure that you do have LinkedIn. And I like how you mentioned that sometimes you'll go there to verify information. You absolutely want to make sure that your dates match from your resume copied over to LinkedIn. Sometimes I will work on a client's resume and then I get into LinkedIn and they have completely different dates. You want to make sure your dates are matching because they're going to want to know what you're trying to hide if you have mismatched dates there. Uh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. What
Oh,
great.
I was just gonna add on one more final thing with LinkedIn. It can be a little more informal in writing style. So, as you've seen, with resumes, they have to be a little bit more concise, to the point, very formal. LinkedIn can be a little bit more informal in that writing style. So when you get into that about section, that tells, who you are, you can kind of tell your story about how you got to be where you are now. Have you been in the same field for 15 years and you love it? Maybe you would want to share that passion with your reader.
That's wonderful. Well, and here's something really new that job seekers again now have to navigate. Again, the market's changed. There's so many dynamics. We're in the healthcare medical market, but again, it doesn't matter what industry that you're in for getting your information correct, because even at any single level, people really need to be able to find you and engage with you to have a conversation so you can really find out if there's a mutual fit on both sides of the equation and sell yourself. What about, oh my goodness, AI is everywhere. AI is the buzzwords. HR recruiters are using AI. They're using it now in search. People are using it. And I can tell you from myself and other recruiters I've seen, it's a great framework. I'm just talking for my viewpoint, but it seems like it's a good framework. But when I've seen resumes, and others have said this too, when they see resumes written by AI, it looks incredibly generic. There's no personal tone. It's just really lacking. So what are your thoughts on how to navigate this new another technology that makes the market even more dynamic for job seekers?
Yeah. So AI is definitely a hot topic lately, especially for writers. So AI does have a place in writing. So I don't want to shun AI. AI does have a place, but it should only be used as an aid. It is great to use when you need, help getting started though. Remember I talked about cover letters, you're watching the flashing cursor and you're trying to get started. AI is great for helping writers get started. That's where it should be used. It's great for that, but it can never fully replace you, which probably is good to know, right? It can never fully replace you. A human still needs to take a look at it and smooth out the rough edges, perhaps even add some context, like you said, to give it that human voice. I like to use the example of AI generated images. Have you ever, seen AI generated humans, like they're flawless, right? Except they might have an extra arm in there. Okay. Or else, how about those AI generated homes? Flawless again, except for maybe the front door might be on the second floor, right? It's the same with those resumes, AI generated resumes. The same applies. So it's best to use, just to get started, but then you need to take the reins. You need to take the reins because you know your stories better than any computer does.
Oh, wow. Wow, wow, wow. Well, in summary, we've talked about resumes, we've talked about cover letters, we've addressed LinkedIn, and we've now touched upon AI, the usages and the limitations. I really want to thank you so much for sharing your expertise. Wow, and all these nuggets that folks can take with them as they navigate this really dynamic market as well. And I know that the listeners will definitely benefit from the information. And whenever they're ready, benefit from engaging with second glance resumes as well as healthcare executive search. I'll definitely include contact information as well in our post. So make it really easy for folks to get a hold of you. And I just want to thank the listeners for your time and engaging with us. We appreciate you and we want to make great matches and we want to all help you land your next move. Thanks for watching.